I'm Aliza Sherman. I'm the CEO of Ellementa. This is our webinar. If you've been to any of our monthly webinars, you know it's chock full of information. We love to get right down into the nitty-gritty, but we do have a few things that we want to start with. So I'm now going to, you can see we've got Erica, and Erica, say hi, Erica.
Hi, Erica Greif here, Jersey Shore.
Jersey Shore, Ellementa Jersey Shore leader, and she runs our webinars. And say hi, Cassie.
Hello, everybody.
Okay, Cassie, you are in what city?
I'm in Wayzata, Minnesota.
Right.
Proud leader of Ellementa in Wayzata. So represent.
Excellent. Okay, so now we're all going to shut off our video because we're going to go to some slides. Then when the Q&A starts, we'll come back to video. So if everyone on the panel could stop video, and then I have to do all kinds of fancy little work here. I need to share my screen. Everybody sees the inner workings. And here we go. This is the Ellementa webinar for the month of May, brought to you by Ellementa, Highland Pantry, and KUEHL. So let me tell you really quickly about Highland Pantry. Love them. If you are interested in microdosing, this is the company for you. They are coming out with a micro-dosed product. It's a mint and 3 different levels of mint, very high in CBD with very low THC, just the right amount if you're into microdosing. And they are geared toward the boomer babes, boomer women, 40s, 50s, I'm 50 plus, and it's a perfect kind of dose. So if you're interested in that, we'll talk a little bit more about them later. And then KUEHL. KUEHL is a company in California. They have products in over 100 dispensaries. They also have their own dispensary. I believe it's in San Jose. So we have an offer at the end if you're in the Bay Area. We have an offer at the end of this webinar just for you. Now here, our goals today: empower you with better information about cannabis for health and wellness, and introduce you to Ellementa, our women's wellness community. Ellementa is a health company for women. But first, please stick around to see if you win these prizes. One lucky winner will win tea from Giovanna, Clean Coconuts Deep Relief Lotion, delicious, smells like lavender, and the Highland Pantry Hi There Tote. So stay tuned. We'll be drawing randomly a lucky winner from the registrants tonight. Now, quickly, a couple of slides to let you know a little bit more about Ellementa in case you're new to our party. We hold events. We hold regular events locally in about 55 cities across the country. Actually across North America, because we have about 6 cities activated in Canada, the rest of them across the United States. And these are wellness circles. That means that we are getting together with women, and with experts, and with brands to educate you about cannabis and CBD for health and wellness. We partner with trusted brands. We vet them. We try their products. I'm actually the CBD tester on the team. We review products, and we give you our honest opinion about them, and work with companies who believe in empowering women. And we produce content, all kinds of content. The webinar, we produce digital events, we write articles, do blog posts, lots of social media. So if you're looking for content with good information about cannabis, then look to ellementa.com, our website. And we've got a book. The book comes out on June 4th. The book tour starts on June 4th in Melrose, Massachusetts, north of Boston. And we are in 12 cities, 18 events. Here's just some of the events that we have, just some of the cities that we're going to be hitting. If you want to know more about the book and the book tour, we're coming to a city near you, myself and my co-author, Dr. Junella Chin. Go to ellementa.com/cannabisbook. Now, I've told you a little bit about me and a little bit about us. How about tell us a little bit about you? We're interested in knowing what is the main reason you are interested in cannabis or CBD topicals. Since we're talking about skincare, we want to know what your reasons are for researching topicals, infused topicals. And here is your poll. So here's a couple of choices. You can actually click on one of these choices, please. Let us know, is it acne? Is it rosacea, psoriasis, or are you just looking for maybe some anti-aging? Do you have eczema or dermatitis? I actually have eczema, and I am finding that some of the CBD creams are quite effective. And then is it something else? Just let us know if it's other. So we can't vote, but you can vote. And we'll give you a few more minutes to click on what is your most pressing issue around skincare. Now, if you could just choose other if it's just plain old curiosity. Let's see, are we getting some responses there, Erica? Well, there you go. Anti-aging, we're all into anti-aging. Yeah, okay, I can get that, I understand. Well, we're gonna hear from our expert in a moment. So let me move on to our next slide. Speaking of experts, Cassandra, okay, Cassandra, I don't wanna butcher your last name. Tell me, remind me how to pronounce it. KUEHL?
It's KUEHL.
Okay, yep, keep your video off so we're on the slides, but KUEHL, Cassandra KUEHL, she is a director and a co-formulator of a natural and organic solution-based skincare line and hair and body products line. It's called Evoke Beauty. And she's also the owner of the Beauty Ecology Salon. She's got a lot of different credentials. You can see them right here, but I will have her speak for herself. Tell us a little bit more about what you do, Cassandra.
Absolutely. So specifically, you know, of the past 20 years, I've helped women achieve their health and their beauty goals through natural and organic products and services as owner of Beauty Ecology Organic Salon. And over the last 12 years, formulated the Evoke Beauty line, which this summer we will be relaunching, redoing our website, and integrating additional CBD wellness specific products for women. A little bit on the side, I have a functional medicine background to help women in various health conditions, and currently, in which we just hosted Miss Elisa on, the Awaken Beauty podcast, which we have the whole gamut of CBD producers. We've had Laura Logano on from Holistic Cannabis certification program, so a whole host of good episodes there. So just love, wellness, beauty, and now cannabis.
All right, excellent. Well, we like to start off, for those of you who are just not familiar at all with cannabis and what it can be good for, is to explain what the endocannabinoid system is. So I'll start, and then I'll ask Cassie to add in anything that I may have left out. Just a cursory lesson on our ECS. Now, if you don't know about the endocannabinoid system, why don't we know very much about it? Well, it was just identified in 1989 and 1990 when researchers, scientists were looking to see why cannabis works the way it does with humans, why it interacts with our bodies the way it does. And they identified a system that lays over all of our other systems. So reproductive, respiratory, digestive, our nervous system, which includes our brain. This ECS, this endocannabinoid system, lays over everything. And it is consisting of receptors. The two identified and most researched receptors are CB1 and CB2. CB2 is mostly in your immune system. CB1 is throughout your body. And these receptors receive some chemical compounds in the cannabis plant. And I will leave it at that because we're going to talk about those compounds in a minute. But Cassie, anything you want to add about the endocannabinoid system?
You nailed it, sister.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Well, one more thing I wanted to definitely mention is that the ECS regulates other systems and processes in our body. So if you think of something like what we as women, as we age, our hormones go wacky, it could be in some parts attributed to an imbalance in our endocannabinoid system. So if we nourish our endocannabinoid system, then we can regulate our hormones more and alleviate some of the symptoms of menopause, for example. So let's talk about the chemical compounds. The first one that is the biggest one that we really are going to be talking a lot about today for skincare, cannabinoids. Cannabinoids are chemical compounds. They're molecules. They're actually called phytocannabinoids if they're in the plant. And more than cannabis, other plants have phytocannabinoids as well. But the ones in cannabis are the ones that are pretty well known. THC being the one that gets you high, and CBD being the one that is very good for anti-inflammation. There are over 100, they say about 113 or more cannabinoids that have been currently identified in cannabis. And your body also produces cannabinoids naturally, and those are called endocannabinoids inside of your body. And as I mentioned, if you are having problems with hormones, for example, or disease of some kind, it could be an imbalance in your ECS, low in certain cannabinoids. Anything you'd like to add, Cassie?
No, I think that, linking back to the previous slide on the ECS, I think that the medical world and, what we know as is what we've been studying kind of on the underground is just the vast amount of different systems in the body that this brings relief to. And on the 113 identified phytocannabinoids, from acidic to how we're going to get into the next slide is just the amount of research that we have ahead of us that can really develop so many different answers for so many things that we deal with in the stressful lives that we live to every day. So we'll kind of get into a little bit more about cannabinoids and how they benefit the skin and how much of the skin is involved in them moving forward. So that's great.
One of the things I do want to mention too is, so if you're new to all of this, it kind of sounds too good to be true. And I get very wary of anything that sounds too good to be true. The reason, though, that cannabis as a plant can be so beneficial in various ways is because how rich it is in these cannabinoids, and each of these chemical compounds can react and interact with our bodies and with each other in a way that can produce different effects. So it's not just getting high, and it's not just anti-inflammation, it's anti-anxiety. It could be an antibacterial, antimicrobial. I say that word wrong every time, microbial. So let's move into the next chemical compound that is very plentiful in the cannabis plant, and that's a terpene, or many terpenes, hundreds of terpenes. So the terpenes are in many of the plants and foods that we know. So for example, a pine tree has pinene. It's that gives it that piney smell. Well, cannabis has pinene. Citrus fruit has limonene. Cannabis also has limonene. Lavender, which we all seem to take when we want to relax. So we might have a lavender spray or a lavender sugar scrub in the bath. It's relaxing and it's almost lightly sedating. Cannabis has linalool as well. Then there's myrcene. You can find myrcene in, mango. I was like looking at that going, what's that other picture? Mango. And mango is rich in myrcene, but so is cannabis, and myrcene is really good for relaxation and sleep. So understanding that cannabis as a plant is incredibly rich in so many cannabinoids and terpenes, it's like a superfood. It's like a super plant. And that is why we're only scratching the surface in terms of what it can do for us. Here's a really neat chart that I like that shows the relationship between the various cannabinoids, the main cannabinoids. Sometimes they call them the big six, that they're included in here. But in the raw form, the plant has an acid form of a cannabinoid. When it's heated, which is the old-fashioned, with a lighter and a pipe, and you're heating the plant matter, it converts. So for example, THCA converts into the THC that we know that gets you high. But if you leave your cannabis laying around and it gets dried and old and exposed to air and light, it can convert to CBN, which is what gets you really, really, really sleepy. So just looking at that chart is a kind of an interesting thing. You'll get the presentation at the end. I think within a few days, you'll get a presentation, so you can look at this more closely. But this is the relationship between the different cannabinoids. But we're focusing on CBD. So I'll say a few words, and I'm going to turn it over to Cassie to talk a little bit more about CBD. Cannabidiol is the proper name for this cannabinoid. There is research that shows it is anti-inflammatory. And when we're talking about skin, anti-inflammatory is a good thing. You can take CBD internally. You can apply it externally. And we'll talk a little bit about both of those things. There are other cannabinoids that have anti-inflammatory properties, and they're listed here: CBGA, THCA. As you can see, there's a whole array of cannabinoids that can help your skin. And by the way, it's non-psychotropic, which means it doesn't get you high. Anything you want to add on here? Because I'm going to be turning a lot of this over to you in a moment, Cassie. But CBD, what do you have to say about CBD?
Well, as far as internally, we just always want to remember THC is what binds to the receptors, where CBD does not. So it's a very, very safe compound, low on side effects. So it's great for most everybody. Pertaining to the skin, it's really, really unique. And, I've heard different professors speak about bidirectional kind of interaction with the skin. And what's really interesting about CBD and the endocannabinoid system is that the endocannabinoid system regulates the cycle of our basal cells. And if you look at the skin, that's
wait. What are our basal cells? Tell me.
So basal cells are going to be the flooded cells that we have in our skin layers. And there's different layers that we have to our skin. And basal cells take up 90% of the epidermis. So 90% of the epidermis is ran by the endocannabinoid system. So, focusing on CBD, and why we're doing that here tonight is because there's just so much interaction that just like we talked about larger in the body and all the systems, even in our skin system, we're now just learning the impact of the CBD on the endocannabinoid system within our skin cells.
Oh, interesting. All right. Well, we're going to go a little bit more deeply into this in a moment. Deeper than skin deep.
Clever.
But thank you. But how can you take CBD? So we've got topicals, we've got transdermals, and you can take it internally with ingestibles. So right now in the legal states where cannabis is legal, more and more companies are manufacturing different products. So you have a wide choice of the kinds of products that you can take in CBD or apply CBD. But we're going to be talking about mostly topicals, a little bit about transdermal, and we'll also touch on the CBD you can take internally and how that might help or affect your skin. So topicals, tell us a little bit about what makes a topical a CBD topical. Like what are the qualities of a CBD topical that we should know about, Cassie?
Yeah. So as listed, it does absorb a couple layers deep in the skin. Now this can be regulated by the kind of topical that you're using, whether you're using a cream versus a salve, so to speak. So a cream, if you're going to be using a cream or a lotion, it's going to have a higher concentration of water. So it's going to spread over the skin more easily and it's going to be more quickly absorbed. Whereas an ointment, where you may use it for pain, the CBD is going to absorb more slowly over time. So it may give you relief over time. It doesn't break the blood-brain barrier. So there is no risk, again, even if there is a low amount of THC or other active cannabinoids in there, it doesn't have any risk of transaction with the THC with the CB1 receptors, and it just relieves local surface inflammation, irritation, aging, everything that we've kind of just, mentioned that it helps. And what's really, really significant about where I believe that CBD has really taken off in the skin world is the anecdotal data that we have for science really is backed up by the relief for individuals that suffer from rosacea, psoriasis, and acne. And that's really because of this balancing, this homeostatic effect that CBD and cannabinoids and phytocannabinoids bring internally and externally. It's always trying to bring the body back to balance. So if you have a little bit too much oil, it's going to regulate it down. Too less, what we call leaky gut is actually called leaky skin. It's going to bring the oil production up so that you have that skin as the barrier to our body. So we want it to always be working for us, not too dry, not too oily. And, the outer skin is obviously a reflection of what's going on internally. So there's kind of this homeostatic relationship that we have with our skin. And topicals locally with CBD, just learning about the research, but most of the research right now is within the acne, rosacea, and psoriasis family.
Yeah, that's what I've seen as well. So let's dig a little deeper on that topical topic. What is actually in those topicals that we're buying at the store? So I think it depends a lot about where you're buying, or if you're buying online, for example. I know that I could do a search on Sephora.com and I search for the word cannabis. All of these products pop up. It's crazy. But then when you look closely, it's cannabis sativa oil. So it's hemp seed oil. We'll define that a little bit more in a moment. Hemp seed oil. But there's also CBD oil that is derived from industrial hemp. We'll define that a little bit more as well. And then the CBD oil that comes from the cannabis sativa plant. It's a little confusing because hemp plants, which are now legal through the Farm Bill, hemp plants are cannabis sativa. They're sort of, people talk about it like a sister plant of cannabis sativa, but it is cannabis. It's just not a high resin, high THC plant. Cannabis sativa that we use for recreation or medicine with higher THC is also, they're both called cannabis sativa. So it's a little confusing, which makes it kind of hard to figure out, well, what is this product that I have in my hand? So hemp seed oil, can you talk a little bit about the benefits of hemp seed oil? But let me just point this out. Hemp seed oil does not have CBD. But what is hemp seed oil good for from the standpoint of skincare, Cassie?
Absolutely. So we've been using hemp seed oil in, formulas for skincare for ages and ages. It is really, really rich in omegas, specifically omega-6 to omega-3. So it's a good anti-inflammatory in that sense. The antioxidants are also very intact and great for anti-aging, inflammation. Even sometimes if you relate antioxidants, it can help with pigmentation and sun damage. Non-comedogenic, I said it right, Elisa.
That was good because I would not have said it that way, but yay.
Right. So non-pore clogging. So there, if you were to go to the masterful Google and type in non-comedogenic oils, there will be a list of oils that will come up. And what that means is, for example, coconut oil, if you were just to put coconut oil on your skin, it's 90% saturated fat. So what happens is it sits on top of the skin. Now, what to remember when you're using hemp seed oil, it's great for the skin because it is non-comedogenic, where coconut oil will sit on top of the skin, which means whatever in that solution isn't necessarily going to get deep into the skin because it's going to hover kind of like a plastic would.
Oh.
So hemp seed is great for that because it's low on this list. So you're going to get the saturation into the skin and whatever else is in that product. And then, as Elisa had mentioned, there is no CBD. There's no active cannabinoids in it. So to remember, we'll go over cannabis sativa that can also be exchanged for hemp seed oil as well. So it's a great oil, great for the skin. It's great even internally to take because it's rich in the high omegas. Now to remember, we make endocannabinoids out of fat. So fat on the skin and fat internally is essential to keep a healthy endocannabinoid system.
I have a quick question too. This is very personal. I've been using coconut oil on my skin, or just the coconut oil that you organic would cook with, for years. Should I be switching over to hemp seed oil or even some of the other products we're going to talk about?
Elisa, that is a great question. Yeah.
I should. Okay.
So what's funny about it is that is if it'll be on the Awaken Beauty podcast soon, and I just did an article on it. Coconut oil, 3 quick facts. Number 1, pH. It's a pH of 7. Okay, so hemp seed oil is a lower pH. So what happens, just like in our gut, we need bile at a 5 acidity to be able to break down food. Same with our skin. To be able to create a protection mechanism, we need some acidity there. So coconut oil is a level 7. Number 2, that means that it helps break down the microbiome, and it kind of dissolves the microbiome protection on the skin, which hemp seed oil does not. It's actually helpful to the microbiome. And then number 3 was the saturated fat that I had already mentioned. It's like a plastic cover. Now, coconut oil is good for you if you use it in lower concentrations and maybe blend it in with hemp seed oil at a very low concentration. And that's why we see so many CBD companies use MCT, because the body with an MCT, it's it fractions all of that heavy saturated fat out. And when used on topically on the skin wants to go and metabolize it right away. Same with internally, with why we use MCT with CBD products or THC products, because the body wants to metabolize it right away versus just hovering and not fully getting saturated by the cellular resin.
Interesting. All right. I learned something important today. I guess I need to go online and get something.
Away from the coconut. Go with the hemp.
So just as I said before, Sephora.com, here are some of the results. But when you look closely, it's not cannabis that's in it. It's not CBD that's in these products. They call it sativa seed oil, or cannabis sativa seed oil, or cannabis seed oil. And it is just hemp seed oil. So be aware that if you're buying some of these products on your traditional retailer, online store, or regular store, chances are you're still getting hemp seed oil, not CBD. So let's talk about industrial hemp. I mentioned it's a low resin plant. It has very, very low, negligible amounts of THC. In order to be legal, it must have less than 0.03% THC. And the hemp plant is a phytoextractor and bioaccumulator. And Cassie, can you explain a little bit what the plant actually does? Because all I know when I was writing about it for the book, I was struck by the fact that they planted industrial hemp plants in Chernobyl in order to absorb the residue from the nuclear fallout, because it pulls it from the soil. And so if you think about it, that's a little scary that this plant could potentially have a lot of toxins in it from the soil. So can you talk to us a little bit about the industrial hemp plant and what it does and what we might be getting out of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think on a positive note, industrial hemp does so many things for us agriculturally, and the paper manufacturing, how it's used to soak up. The negative part is how it is and does soak up all these residues in the ground. So one of the things that we really want to pay attention to around industrial hemp, especially when it comes to internal and topical products, obviously around quality. So since it's a bioaccumulator, it can have leftover resins, even if somebody starts planting on the ground that's quote unquote just named themselves organic because they haven't put anything in the soil for a year, but that soil has been there for a very long time. So I guess my high note on the industrial hemp is that the incredible mass industry that it's re-engaging right now with young farmers, people getting back in the game to re-revolutionize industrial hemp for all the right reasons. So the great thing about it is that, all of its qualities, but the downfall is we need to be really careful, especially in the US, because we have everybody jumping in the game and wanting to produce hemp. The focus is it grown organically? I would say, please only look for organic hemp for this reason that Elisa has already mentioned. The quality of it, meaning that it is at CVS, Walgreens, and all of these mass retailers, really what are you getting and what is the efficacy of the product? So we all understand there is no certified organic hemp, from my understanding, certification within the industry at this time. There's different campaigns that you can sign up to say that you are verified. I'm not sure, Elisa, do you know of I don't remember the name of them. There's a couple where you can have somebody come out and vet your soil and you can be put on this list. But only right now, European hemp can be certified organic. And then you can learn that through a certificate of analysis. And you can also see when it's brought into the US and where it's manufactured. So there's some misunderstanding there with industrial organic hemp.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about the certificate of analysis in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to show a couple of products that have CBD, that's industrial hemp derived. So you can buy these products online. Indigo Haze, a moisturizing cream, the clean coconut products. Lord Jones has a lot of CBD products. Kanuka has an array of skincare products as well. Everyday Rebel, bath salts. So there are many, many products out there that have CBD, and they should be deriving that CBD from industrial hemp. Cannabis sativa, I mentioned it's a higher resin plant, higher THC content. CBD can be extracted from the cannabis sativa plant if it is grown to have more CBD, because back in the 70s when they were growing cannabis illicitly in the black market, they were suppressing all the other cannabinoids. They just wanted high THC. These days, with the industry maturing, with more farmers coming in and really thinking about the quality of the plants, they're looking to make sure that these plants are richer in many cannabinoids. But if you get CBD, a product that is derived from this cannabis sativa plant and has a little bit more THC, you're going to have to buy it at a dispensary, and it may not be available where you live. So topicals, buying CBD topicals. What else should women be looking for when they are going to the store and checking out those CBD topicals?
Yeah, so I think there's probably about 5 main things that I typically look for, whether I'm looking at a product online or shopping. And the first would be, looking at the other ingredients would mean, what are you buying a topical for? So do the ingredients have a purpose? Are you looking for something that has an SPF in it? Are you looking for something to help psoriasis and eczema, or just anti-aging? The second would be, looking for the fillers, any GMO products, the parabens, all of those, hopefully looking for a natural and organic base that is void of all of the chemicals. And one other thing, especially for women, is the xenoestrogens. So, all of these products store in our fat over time. And so we really want to be careful on what we're using when it comes to buying a topical, even though it has CBD in it. Third would be essential oil potency. So we talked about terpenes, and terpenes are very, very, very powerful compounds, and they can even be toxic if used in too high of a percentage. So a lot of people have different sensitivities to terpenes. Limonene, for example. Limonene is actually used as a preservative in a lot of products. And I've had many clients actually have a list of products that they will have on a sheet, and they can't have limonene in any of their products because it creates a reaction. So you want to be mindful too, when you're trying a product and you may have a reaction, just make sure that the essential oils that are a low percentage, and you don't have any allergens to them, because it can be a missing misnomer on those. And then how is the product processed? And I think we kind of have that a little bit later, as well as the COA, but I would say quality, natural and organic, no chemicals, and watch for the terpene percentage.
Can you define a xenoestrogen? What is that exactly?
So xenoestrogens, we would understand as the same word in the line above as a paraben. So parabens are xenoestrogens. And what xenoestrogens are is they are chemical mimickers that have the same messaging kind of compound. So it's a biomimetic compound. It's similar to what our estrogen is. And so when we get an influx of parabens or plastics or the Teflon on our pans that we use at home, and even flame retardants, are all xenoestrogens. Women are having issues with losing weight, increase of breast cancer. These are all stored xenoestrogens. Specifically from topicals is a really, really high note. And to prove this to be true, I had a functional medicine podcast this weekend, and she said, we couldn't figure out where her excess estrogens were coming from, but she was a 22-year-old dance team college gal who had all of these sunless tanners and topical products and all this makeup, and they took all of that out, and her estrogen levels went down immediately.
Whoa.
That goes to tell you topicals are really, really invasive product if they're not clean of all of these other chemicals in them. So they mimic our estrogen, making our body say you have too much estrogen. And then that is cancer, can cause cancer, can cause weight gain, etc.
Whoa. Wow. Okay. Well, thank you for that explanation. Well, let's move into the way that CBD can be extracted or derived from the hemp plant or the cannabis plant, and the testing that is done. If you could talk a little bit about those two things, that would be, I think, very helpful.
Yeah, so processes and testing, this is becoming, I think, pretty much industry standard. If you get on any blog, everybody always says, please look for a COA, which is the certificate of analysis. Every good company, you will want to ask them if they have a COA. This is going to do more than just tell you if there's toxins or residual solvents, kind of like you see on the bottom. The way I really look at processing and testing, I don't demonize whether, it's supercritical, subsupercritical. There are some benefits, to whatever the end result is. You want to be conscious of, how that's done. But the COA, I always look for what is the CBD percentage, so how much active cannabidiol is in that product. And then where are the other, if it's a full spectrum, what are the minor cannabinoids in there? And you can then start shopping with a different point of view. So you can start shopping with, well, this one has a higher percentage of possibly CBD to CBN, or even we're formulating a terp goo, which I call it, which has acidic cannabinoids in it. So there's all different, families of value to the minor cannabinoids. So that's how I really like to look at testing with the certificate of analysis. Is it clean? And then you can shop by COAs by the percentage of high cannabinoids in a product.
So if we're looking at just a CBD product, what would be a typical percentage of CBD in a skincare product?
That's a great question. So that can be very variable. So if you're looking at a full spectrum, which would be 0.03 THC, or broad spectrum, no THC, usually what I see on the market is somewhere between 18 to 25% CBD. Okay. And then the rest would be very minor cannabinoids and, other fats and terpenes. Now, if you're going to get into isolate, which we'll talk about later, most of the time you will see an isolate product at 98 to 99% CBD.
Oh, okay. Well, we're going to get to that in a moment. Transdermals. So transdermals are topical products that have other ingredients in it that increase absorption, accelerate absorption. So for example, I know that limonene can help a topical penetrate more deeply beneath those very few top surface layers of the skin. Oleic acid is another one very commonly used to help increase absorption. So could you explain it just a little bit more about a transdermal from the standpoint of skincare? Because it seems to me it's mostly using transdermals, we mostly use it for pain relief.
Yeah, I think that transdermals, when using transdermals, I usually see them actually in an application of a patch.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So those are great for putting on specific location of pain, or if you need something to last you through the day. When I think of a transdermal, and because it can break through the skin layers, is it because it has, like you said, limonene is a penetrator. Terpenes can do that, but usually they're put down into a nano size so small that it's then put into a patch, which has been scientifically proven through the FDA to be able to break the blood, barrier and or get through the skin enough to get into the system to provide a stronger relief and a longer subset of time.
So when you think about CBD, for example, and I do have some transdermals that are topical cream products.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would think that because CBD is such a great anti-inflammatory, that by penetrating more deeply, maybe even getting in systemically, a lot of our skin, as you said, what's on the inside shows on the outside. And when you have inflammation in your system internally, it can then show up as skin eruptions. I don't think there's a lot of study on this in particular, a transdermal skincare product, whether that getting CBD internally can help you through a transdermal product, but we can talk about ingestible products. You could take CBD internally through an oil-based tincture, and that's the MCT or the coconut oil. You could take it as a capsule. You can even take it as an oral spray, edibles, gummies. CBD can be ingested. And I would really think that by ingesting it, we are addressing a lot of different issues, the homeostasis and the balance that you talked about, that could then in turn help your skin. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. CBD ingestibles. I'm loving mine. I know everybody else on this webinar probably is too. So everything you do internally will help externally.
Okay. Well, I think we've got a little bit more time before we open up to questions to talk about full spectrum versus CBD isolates. Let's explain what they are and how they're different. So a full spectrum product is a product that maintains most of the cannabinoids that appear naturally in the plant. So instead of extracting just the CBD, you are getting the CBD along with other cannabinoids. And the reason this is a good thing is we all know through the research out there that cannabinoids can interact with each other, modulate each other. CBD in particular, for example, modulates THC. THC in turn can make CBD more effective. So by having all the different cannabinoids in a product, it presents what's called the entourage or the ensemble effect, where they play off each other and produce more efficacy. They're more effective. Anything you want to say about the full spectrum type of product?
No, I think, the full spectrums is just a really, really beautiful experience, and I think that scent, that earthy experience that, just brings us back to nature is just, it's just incredible when you get a really nice, high quality, full spectrum product. And so everything ditto and ditto on the synergistic effect and how that all works together is by nature. So it's a blessing in itself.
Well, then the different ways, and again, this is an extraction process or a manufacturing, how they're processing it and maintaining the integrity of the plant. A different way of treating the plant and processing it is isolating your cannabinoids, pulling out just the CBD and then putting that into products. So it's isolated without any other cannabinoids in there. And then maybe later reinserting some terpenes or reformulating it. It becomes much more of a manufactured product. And a good aspect of a CBD isolate is you have much more precise dosing. So when they say what is in your product, particularly when you're ingesting it, you can figure out your doses because it's so much more specific. And what would you have to say about a CBD isolate?
Yeah, so isolate is actually really useful for skincare companies, and I'll tell you why. So there's benefit to full spectrum, but the isolate positivity is, like you've mentioned, it's great for consistency. And when you're formulating a skincare product, and for instance, when I noted, what is the purpose of your product? Isolate's a great way where you don't have the scent, you don't have kind of the weedy scent. I mean, if you've smelled cannabis, it has that certain scent to it that overtakes other essential oils and terpenes. So companies will use this to control their essential oil and how they want to scent the product. And they will also use it so they can add other actives into the product that can create also other benefits, such as hyaluronic acid for moisture control. There's all different kinds of, skincare products with different purposes, but isolate shouldn't be, always negative. It actually has some really, really great benefits for high percentages, precision, and that you're getting a certain amount of CBD in that product every time.
And I just wanted to mention that there are people who say only full spectrum, that's the only way to go. There's other people that are touting the CBD isolate type of product. It often is dependent on what you're trying to achieve. One is not necessarily better than the other. I tend to like the full spectrum a lot more, but I have turned to an isolate when I needed something very, very specific. So there are those varieties, and there'll continue to be more varieties. I just wanted to remind everyone, we're talking about plant medicine. We're talking about deriving substances, chemical compounds from plants. The industry is still maturing. The way that we explain how this works is changing and maturing as well. Different companies are showing up and coming up with new ways of extraction and distillation and formulation. That is going to continue. So looking at all the test results, looking at all the ingredients in the products that you pick off the shelf, is going to help you better understand what you're putting on the surface of your skin or taking into your body. And remember, they call the skin, the skin is your largest organ of your body. And so how we treat our skin really can affect how our body, the health of our body, and vice versa. How we treat our body can really affect our skin. So let's sum this all up, and we're going to get to questions. I hope everyone's ready with their questions. A reminder that there's a Q&A format doohickey there that you can actually submit your questions. Erica knows the more technical term for that. The doohickey. So the cannabis plant is rich in cannabinoids. It can address inflammation, pain. CBD can be applied externally or taken internally to also address that inflammation. It doesn't get you high. Hemp seed oil does not naturally contain CBD. So if you're buying hemp seed oil, it is good for your skin, but it is not CBD. Just making sure you know that, because there's a lot of misleading marketing being done out there right now. And industrial hemp-derived CBD, it's becoming more readily available in more of the normal places that we shop. We don't have to go into dispensaries anymore just to get an industrial hemp-derived CBD product. But not all CBD products are created equal. So again, check the test results, read the labels, and make sure you know what you're getting. Anything you want to close with before we open up with questions?
No, this is
all right.
great.
Well, let's get to those questions. Let's get to those questions. I am now going to turn my video back on. Cassie, if you can do the same. All right. And how about those questions, Erica? You want to
I'm ready.
send some questions our way?
Fantastic. Okay, so Wendy's question is, virgin coconut oil is different than fractionated coconut oil. MCT / fractionated coconut oil is not that com word, that correct? Yes. She's asking, is that
correct?
non-comedogenic?
MCT is, yeah. So is she asking if MCT is comedogenic?
Is not comedogenic.
Is not comedogenic. Yep. So what they've done is they've kind of like if you think about ghee and clarified butter. So you kind of take off that top and then you have kind of that watery soluble kind of resin to it. So MCT is that. So it gets into the cells a lot faster, both topically and internally. And if you think about, you'll often see also oleanic acid can also be short chain, medium chain, and long chain fatty acid. And that's how you know the saturation on it.
Fantastic.
Okay. So wait, so the MCT or fractionated coconut oil is
short chain. Correct.
Okay. So that's what I need to look for, but okay, got it. Right? There's an interesting question here from Jill.
Oh yeah.
So xenoestrogens, they break the blood-brain barrier?
Xenoestrogens, depends. So products can have, and so when we think about mineral makeup behind me, some mineral makeups can be nano sifted. So a lot of products will be, depending on their molecular weight, they can break through the skin. And that's why we're finding the excess of why we really don't want parabens in products, is because it is a big xenoestrogen factor. So anything that you take internally, does it break the blood-brain barrier? It's not necessarily breaking the blood-brain barrier. It's the fact that it's stored in the fat. And if you are not a good detoxifier or have a lot of them, it's kind of like having a bathtub. If you keep filling up the bathtub, but you don't unplug the bottom, you're going to get sick at some point. So that's why we want to avoid the xenoestrogens in plastics and topicals.
Great.
Irene was asking about broad spectrum. Is that the same as full spectrum? Is broad spectrum? What is broad spectrum?
Yeah, that's a really good question and a big confusion. So broad spectrum is going to have all the wonderfulness of all the different minor cannabinoids, can have terpenes, it can have the flavonoids, can have all of that beautifulness of that full plant, but it doesn't have the THC. So when it's processed, that company has gone to the realms of actually making sure that all of the THC has been removed from broad spectrum. This is great for athletes. This is great for people that want that kind of full plant experience, but may get tested at work. Whereas full spectrum is 0.03 legally hemp. And it has all of the cannabinoids in it as well.
Okay. I love going through these questions, Erica.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
Industrial hemp, does an industrial hemp product have a COA, a certificate of efficacy, or what was it? Certificate.
Oh yeah, what's
analysis?
COA stand for? Analysis.
Certificate of analysis.
Right. It wouldn't, right?
Industrial hemp?
Correct. That's my question.
Well, if you're using it, absolutely should. If you're using it in a skincare product or an internal product, you will even see on some products, it will say industrial hemp. And that's basically telling the industry that, we're not using a cannabis sativa high THC strain, that we are within the legal bounds of using industrial hemp. But it depends on where are you extracting the goodness from the hemp plant. So, yeah.
So, okay, but
should have a COA.
Right now, I was just going to say, I'm not actually sure about because of the Farm Bill and everything that's going into place now, it's not in place everywhere, whether or not there is that federal or statewide or city county regulation around that.
Yeah. You really have to check in your state to see if you are even able to cross state to state with a 0.03% THC.
Well, it's whether or not there's a COA for it or not, whether or not they're required to get a COA. I'm not 100% sure about that.
Well, if you're a shopper, I would certainly look for a product with a COA. That's how I would resolve that.
Yep. Fair enough.
So would it be okay to put my CBD that I normally take orally on my skin for swelling? That was one of my questions. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So Monica's asking, would it be okay to put CBD? So I would be thinking you're asking Monica, because this was one of my questions, is can I take a tincture that I normally would take orally and then rub it on my skin, and could it help?
The answer is,
I don't know. That's what I was asking.
Yes.
That's what Monica's asking.
That's an absolute yes. And so, talk about DIY, right? So we talked about coconut and how it came all the rage because the DIY, if you're using your CBD, again, what's in it, but absolutely. You can even make your own concoction at home. You can use MCT oil with it. You can use hemp seed oil with it. CBD, just as a manufacturer would put it into and homogenize it into a skin cream or a salve, you absolutely can do that as well at home.
So I could just take the MCT oil-based tincture and take the dropper and put it on something, and then it should have some relief. Or anti-aging. I wonder if I should be using.
Absolutely.
So the one thing to think about, though, these products aren't like instantaneous. I mean, CBD is not like you put it on the CBD product and voila, no more wrinkles. It can be quite effective from a pain standpoint, especially a surface pain standpoint, but it's not as if your acne will go away in a day. It just like any other thing that you're putting on, it's reducing, it's helping and healing over time.
That's actually something that Jill was asking about. She wanted to know, how much is going to make a notable change and effective results?
It's it's a good question. It's an important question, but it's a little bit gray area. So, Dr. Hartridge Healthcare Solutions, I got a note here, Dr. Carolyn Hartridge, she has her own company and she's also a PhD, and she has noted that from her research, for high pain, 200 milligrams per ounce has been notified to really help with a high pain and anti-inflammatory effect. Internal
or topical?
This is topically only.
Okay.
And then lower doses, less than 25 milligrams per ounce. The science is hesitant to say that there's any results. Now, as we know, the skin turns over every 28 days. So if you're buying a skin product, you don't always need to heavy hit it if you're using it for anti-aging and anti-inflammatory and antioxidant benefits, because the low dosing over time, if you're using it every day, accumulates and gives you benefits. Whereas you don't need to spend the money on a 400 or 500 milligram topical for anti-aging would be very different than using something that's a 500 to a 1,000 salve for pain management. There are two different uses and two different milligrams that you would want to pay attention to on where you want to spend your time and your money.
Okay, there's a couple of really good questions now about full spectrum, the benefits versus isolate, and if you have an isolate, does a CBD isolate work well with other plants and herbs like calendula or turmeric? I'm not even sure how to answer that question. CBD, if it's isolated, the cannabinoid, is it really interacting and working well with, or is the turmeric doing its job, the CBD isolate doing its job, the calendula doing its job, as opposed to some sort of interaction? Because with a full spectrum, you've got cannabinoids interacting. Anything on that topic? Because we're going to have to wrap up soon.
Yeah, so real quick on that, both my formulator and our research team, we are connected to a lot of people within industry, collegiate studies as well. Isolate combined with other, you have to remember CBD, just like turmeric or some of these other plant phytochemicals, are a plant phytochemical. So when we extract them and putting them into something, CBD is what we know is anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, all of the antimicrobial, all of these benefits. Adding it in with other anti-inflammatories or other key benefits, it's absolutely going to give you a plus. CBD can be very powerful in an isolate, and it's a lot of the times we've gotten a lot of our scientific studies from CBD isolate because we're able to isolate the study and consistently do it over and over again without kind of these bell curves that we get with a full spectrum or broad spectrum product. Mm-hmm. So absolutely, I think it's safe to mix with things. And I think we're seeing that on the market. Everybody is coming out from sleep with melatonin to skincare products. So I think there's value there. Absolutely.
Well, we have to wrap up this portion. We are, just so you know, we tend to hang out after we stop the formal part of our webinar, but I just have a couple of more slides that I want to go through, and then we'll come back on video and hang out and answer a few more questions. It won't be in the final recording, but we like to do this just to make sure we get some more answers done. If everyone can turn off their video really quick, and let's head back into let's see. Okay, everybody, what do you see on the screen? I pressed the wrong button this time.
It's okay. You brought it to the giveaway.
Okay, it's there. You see the giveaway.
Yes, ma'am.
Fabulous. Okay, good. So I wanted to thank Clean Coconut for their offer of this luscious giveaway, which is their pain relief. She has a wonderful array of products that have various terpenes in bath products, body products, delicious, smell great. I actually have some and use some myself. Thank you to Highland Pantry for this Hi There tote. And thank you so much to Giovanna. It's a woman-owned company down in Florida. They make a woman's formula CBD tea. Before we pick our winner, just letting you know that if you're in Canada, you're not going to get the CBD products. Sorry, we just cannot ship them across the border. So who is our winner?
The winner this evening is Doria. Doria, congratulations.
All right, Doria, we will get in touch with you and let you know when your items will arrive. Let's see. I just have a few more slides and we'll be done. Here is, for those of you who have already been on our webinars, you're getting like another copy of 10 things you always wanted to know about cannabis. But for those of you who haven't been on a webinar before, this is a great little booklet that just tells you some of the facts and figures about cannabis in general. And then you will receive a recording a couple of days after we finish this webinar. So be looking out for an email with a link to the full recording. And here's how you can reach us. If you're interested in connecting with Ellementa, we have groups, online discussion groups on Facebook. We have gatherings, which are in-person, real-world get-togethers in cities across North America. And we're also on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest as Ellementa Woman. How do we find you, before I move on? How do we find you, Cassie?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me, Salon Site Beauty Ecology, organicsalon.com. I have all of my blog articles about CBD and skincare galore. You can find me on the Awaken Beauty podcast. If you put that into Instagram, you can find me there. And you can also find our products, Evoke Beauty, EVOQ beauty.com, and that's where we have our beauty, hair, and CBD products, and anybody that goes there will get 20% off.
All right. So I have 2 other webinars that are coming up. We've got next week, Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific time. We've got Ricky Lake and Abby Epstein and Jill Fagan. Jill Fagan is a cancer survivor who used cannabis to treat her cancer. And she's doing well. Abby is a filmmaker, and Ricky Lake is a filmmaker with Abby. They did Weed the People is their latest film. So we're going to have them live. They'll be on video. You'll be able to interact with them and ask them questions. We'll see never seen before footage of Jill and her story. So this is going to be next Wednesday evening. You can register now. And then next month, June 26th, my co-author, Dr. Janella Chin, and I will be doing a webinar around our book, Cannabis and CBD for Health and Wellness. Is it Ellementa, using Ellementa? Is that the checkout code? Cassie, I put that on for you for Evoke Beauty.
Yeah, yep, absolutely,
Okay.
honey. So Ellementa is the code that you can use on Evoke Beauty.
Okay, perfect. Yes. So if you go to evokebeauty.com, 20% off if you use Ellementa on checkout. And Kaliva, if you're in the Bay Area, they serve and deliver a region of the Bay Area. You can go onto their website, kaliva.com, and find out exactly where. And if you use Ellementa 20 for delivery or for pickup at their San Jose dispensary, you get 20% off as well. So this offer is extended to the end of August. And go to highlandpantry.com. You can sign up to get on their list to find out when their microdosing mints are available. Thank you, everyone. This is the end of our May webinar. Thank you, Cassie, for your wisdom, and thank you, Erica, for your technical support and help on this webinar. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Have a good evening.